Hello, and welcome back to CinemaBurger's 13 Nights of Halloween. Tonight we bring you perhaps the most scary notion of all, an Adam Sandler comedy. Yes, Adam Sandler is back with a new Netflix original movie, and it's called Hubie Halloween. It stars Adam Sandler, Ray Liotta, June Squibb, Kevin James, Kenan Thompson, Tim Meadows, and Maya Rudolph. Now, Adam Sandler plays Hubie Dubois, the town laughingstock, and from the way it looks, he might be mentally challenged. Now, he always protects Halloween's safeties and morals every year, and he gets made fun of by the town, including the kids from all over the town and the school. Now, an Adam Sandler comedy wouldn't be complete without Adam Sandler doing a stupid voice. Yes, as soon as I saw the trailer for this movie, I heard Adam Sandler going, alright, that was funny back in the 90s, but now it's just sad and pathetic. And it's even to the point where certain characters in the movie can't understand what he is saying. Oh yes, Julie Bowen also stars in this movie. And she's the one where, after Adam Sandler says something, she's like, what? I had to watch this movie with subtitles because I couldn't understand what he was saying. Now, this kind of makes me sad at the same time, because Adam Sandler has proven that he can step away from his comedy niche and do serious movies. He has done so in Punch Drunk Love, Reign Over Me, The Meyerowitz Chronicles, New and Selected, and most recently, Uncut Gems. So he knows how to act other than comedy, and he's proven it, but he still sticks to these types of movies. But Hubie Halloween isn't as bad as some of his other Netflix originals, which include The Ridiculous Six, The Do-Over, and Stanley Wexler. So let's dive right into this movie. So, as typically as an Adam Sandler movie starts, you see the Happy Madison logo, but this time it's Halloween themed. The guy in the Happy Madison logo, which I believe is Adam Sandler's father, who always says terrific when there's a golf ball hitting the screen, is dressed as Dracula, and that's a nice touch, honestly. So this movie takes place in Salem, Massachusetts, and we open on a mental institute. Now, there's a guard going to check a room as we see someone trying to escape, and you hear what sounds like a familiar voice. And it turns out it's Ben Stiller's character from Happy Gilmore. As he's going to check on one of the inmates in the institution, and as Ben Stiller is bringing him hot dogs and jello, we see that there is no one in the cell, and when he checks the bed, there is just a human body size made out of hot dogs and jello, which is kind of clever, if we're being honest, if you're trying to escape. But then again, wouldn't the guards see all the hot dogs and jello the inmate was saving beforehand to make this body double? But I digress. So as we see the town of Salem, we see Hubie Dubois as he's riding his bike throughout the town, and people on the street are throwing stuff at him for some reason. And he's able to do bike stunts to avoid being hit, as we see very clearly CG objects being thrown at him. And then all of a sudden, somebody throws eggs at him, and he catches them in his thermos and drinks them, and then he throws up via Exorcist style, and it's just very weird. It's the kind of juvenile humor you would expect from an Adam Sandler comedy. And there are lots of fart jokes as well in this movie. Now, Kevin James is the police chief of the town, and he is wearing a really bad wig slash beard. Like, you can almost see the seams of the beard, and he just looks ridiculous. Also, fun fact, he's always eating candy bars in this movie. Now, I read that he was supposed to spit out the candy bar during the takes because he had a bucket ready, but every time they looked, the bucket was empty, which means he just kept eating the candy bars. I don't know if that made him sick or not, but I thought that was just an interesting fun fact. Especially in a lot of scenes where people have to eat food and they have to do multiple takes, they're not just going to keep eating it because they get full or sick, so they would typically spit out the food in between takes. This did not occur in this movie. Now, after the kids have thrown stuff at Hubie Dubois, you hear a familiar phrase. And Adam Sandler says, "You be careful, O'Doyle." So that's the O'Doyle family from Billy Madison, I guess. So it's another reference to other Adam Sandler comedies. Now, what's another interesting thing is one of the writers of Hubie Halloween, one of them being Adam Sandler himself, the other is Tim Herlihy. He has written other Adam Sandler movies, including Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, The Water Boy, Big Daddy, Little Nicky, Mr. Deeds, Pixels, Bedtime Stories, Grown Ups 2, and The Ridiculous Six. Now that's a lot of most of Adam Sandler's popular and unpopular comedies, so having the characters from the other movies in there is very interesting. Now, a couple of things in the news came out around this movie. One, he was going to make a Hollow movie so bad because he got snubbed for an Oscar for Uncut Gems, and two, after this movie came out, Adam Sandler said that he would want to make a cinematic universe with all of his characters from his previous movies. Now, if this movie is the launching point for that, that would actually be very interesting. But let's get to the stuff about this movie that kind of sucks. Now, as Hubie is driving through the town on his bike, he sees Steve Buscemi, who looks a little confused and disheveled. Now, he says that he's just moved in next door and is welcoming himself. Now, Hubie introduces himself and also talks about his thermos that he has. He calls it a Swiss Army thermos that he invented. Now, as the events unfold in this movie, there's a man in a insane asylum outfit who is also wearing a pig mask not to be seen. He has a blonde hairdo. Now, at one point, it's a nighttime scene, and you see him staring off in the background, but as the camera cuts down, you see him peeing. Now, to be honest, that's a funny joke. It's a clever joke on the cliche scene of the voyeurism of the killer as he's watching from a distance. So, to be honest, that's pretty clever. Now, this movie is an hour and 43 minutes long. Now, the first, I'm going to say, hour or 43 minutes or so, they keep dropping subtle hints of the plot, like, who is this crazy person? There is someone who is also, like, kidnapping people in the town, and they make you think, is it Steve Buscemi? Because he's weird, he thinks he's like a werewolf. They allude to the fact that he might be. Plus, there's this other guy with the pig mask and the blonde hair. Could Steve Buscemi be this person? We don't know. But most of this movie really just includes the townspeople laughing at Hubie and just making fun of him, throwing things at him. And, like, the entire school, like I said, does this. So this kind of movie is kind of making fun of mentally challenged people? It's hard to say, because they don't say Hubie is mentally challenged, but it's kind of implied. Now, Hubie's mother is played by June Squibb, and in the beginning of the movie, she said she got a bunch of shirts at, like, a thrift shop for, like, 33 cents. And some of them include, like, boner donor, like, I got up for this or something, just really stupid shirts. And that's a running joke that gets less and less funny as the movie goes on. Now, Ray Liotta's character, his mother passed away, and as the town is at the funeral, because it's a small town and everyone knows everybody, Hubie Dubois is there, and he's looking for clues about what's going on in the town because of the disappearances and the weird stuff going on. Now, he notices there's a grave with the last name Lambert on it, and then it has a birth date of 1691 and no death date. So couple that with the fact that Steve Buscemi's character, I believe his name is Walter, says that he's a werewolf or he thinks he's one, that could be a clue. Like, is there going to be something supernatural happening in this movie? Because so far we haven't seen anything, just a lot of weird thermos jokes. Like, some of the attachments of this thermos include a flashlight, a microphone, an umbrella, Now, Adam Sandler is obsessed with soup in this movie. Now, he gets pushed into the grave by Ray Liotta, and the first thing he says is, "My soup!" He's like obsessed with soup. The only other movie I can think of where movies obsessed with soup a lot was 2016 Ghostbusters, and that movie sucked. Now, Hubie's mother talks about how their ancestor in the 1600s tried to help people in the town and denounce witchcraft, and she herself was condemned and hung for being a witch. Just like Hubie Dubois tries to help people in the town and is a good citizen that's frowned upon by the whole town. So they are trying to lay in clues of the overall plot, but it's just they get lost in this town just making fun of Hubie and his annoying voice and all of his thermos jokes. Now, there is one joke about the thermos that was pretty funny. He is in this street at a movie theater, drive-in theater, and he's almost going to be hit by a car, so he throws his thermos forward in his hand, and a grappling hook comes out, and he flies away like Spider-Man. Now, I was actually cracking up, and that was one of the funny thermos jokes. Everything else is just kind of dumb at this point. Now, every Halloween, Hubie Dubois has a tendency to call the police chief, played by Kevin James, about weird things going on in the town, none of them actually being happening, just him overreacting. Now, to get Hubie off his back, Kevin James says, "You're going to be part of the auxiliary police something, but you can't talk about it, you can't talk to me about it, and you have to, like, report." So it's basically a way to get Adam Sandler or Hubie out of his way. Now, during this time, he tries what he thinks to discover clues of the disappearances from the various town people. Now, the town people themselves, they really are just, like, unnaturally mean to Hubie. And it's like they talk in a way that real people don't talk. You know, like in movies with school bullies, like, nobody talks like that. They just, like, straight out say, like, "I'm making fun of you because you're this, this, and this." Like, nobody talks like that. And it's not the first time this has happened in a movie, but I feel like you notice it more, and it makes you think about other movies where bullies or people talk in a way in which people don't actually talk in real life. Now, there's the character Violet, played by Julie Bowen, who was his star in the movie Happy Gilmore years ago. Now, she's known Hubie since kindergarten. Now, she adopts children. She's one of the only decent people in this town besides Hubie's mother. And she, like, always is encouraging to Hubie and seems to have a crush on him. Now, once again, Hubie's character, while he is, like, a good person, he is almost clearly mentally challenged based on the writing of his character. So that's a little odd, I guess. I mean, there's nothing wrong with someone falling in love with a mentally challenged person, of course, but it's another thing when, like, beautiful women fall in love with someone who isn't. Like, obviously that happens, but it's overplayed stereotype in movies. Now, the mayor of the town, played by George Wallace, they're hosting a Halloween, like, night party parade thing, and because of the disappearances, there's been at least 2 to 3 now. The police chief wants to close down the parade and the events because of people missing. And the mayor doesn't because he's worried about money, because all the revenue from this Halloween is a major revenue for the town as a whole. Now, here's another cliche of the police or somebody, like the one person no one believes in the town, saying, "You gotta watch out for this thing," and no one believes him, and it turns out the one guy is right. Now, that's another cliche that happens in this movie. Now, as Hubie is going around the town trying to figure clues and stuff, more people keep throwing things at Hubie on his bike. And now they get bigger and bigger and more ridiculous, like TVs and, like, air conditioners, and it's like, why do you keep doing that? At his house later on, you see they're doing laundry, and you see a big sheet with big pee stains on it. Now, that may be a reference to Big Daddy, from when the little kid peed a lot, I don't know, but based on the fact of the writer of the movie, could be. Now, later on at a haunted house, when people might be disappearing also, and Steve Buscemi's character is confirmed by Adam Sandler to possibly be a werewolf, he grabs, like, a silver bullet or something and throws it at this dog, doesn't have a gun. and he thinks at this point that it's Steve Buscemi. Now, Ray Liotta is there too, and after they close the haunted house down, Ray Liotta gets kidnapped as well. Now, the way people get kidnapped in this movie, whether it's in like a cornfield, this kid goes missing, you just see the camera's pointing at the character, and all of a sudden he just gets pulled back. You never see who's doing it, so it's possible that there is a supernatural creature doing this. Now, Tim Meadows' character is someone who knew Hubie as a kid. He also makes fun of him, and Maya Rudolph plays his wife. Now, there's a running joke about that Tim Meadows can't please his wife sexually, and they want to play a trick on Hubie at the drive-in theater. And this is where Tim Meadows gets kidnapped. Now, you keep seeing the pig-faced person throughout the town. He hasn't actually done anything, but there's like things in the corn maze to scare people. Like there's a scarecrow. Someone places a scarecrow in the road as well. And it's about halfway into the movie, or the second half now, and things are trying to get more interesting because they're building up the plot now, the actual plot. It just took so long to get there between all the thermos and fart jokes and Adam Sandler's inaudible voice. Now, during the second half of the movie also, I don't know if it's actually becoming funny or I lost brain cells from watching the first half. I'm guessing it's the latter of the two. Now, there's a scene back at the haunted house where Ray Liotta kind of hits on a teenager, and it's really creepy. And the teenager acknowledges that too, because they see a dog there, and he's like, "Oh, that's your dog," and then he makes like a joke like, "Oh, we should get a drink," and the girl's like, "No, you're creepy, and I'm like a quarter of your age." So it's good that they acknowledge that, but it's still creepy to have that joke in the first place. Now, we finally see who the pig-faced person is, and it turns out to be... Now, before I reveal this, since this movie has had many cameos from previous actors in Adam Sandler movies, I was expecting somebody, but I was not expecting Rob Schneider. Now, it turns out that Rob Schneider is a friend of Steve Buscemi. He was also a mental institute patient, and he escaped to get his friend back. Now, it also is clear that Steve Buscemi is just crazy. He's not actually a werewolf. He's just crazy and believes that he's a werewolf. So that debunks those two characters they set up to be the villain. So now it's like you're actually interested in who's kidnapping these people and what's going on. Now, there's maybe about, I'm going to say 30 minutes left. Now, the town starts to blame Hubie for this, like, "Oh, maybe it's you, because all these people who were kidnapped made fun of Hubie." I'm like, okay, this is, even though it's not new writing, it's decent, and it's actually getting me interested. Like, okay, who is actually kidnapping these people? Now, if you've seen enough movies, you can tell that it could be one of two people. It could be the woman Violet that is the only one who actually is nice to Hubie, or his mother. And I feel like the mother doing it would be a good reference to Friday the 13th, where of course the mother is the killer. But before we find out who the actual killer is, we get another cameo in the movie. Now, throughout the movie there is this DJ with a woman's voice talking about Halloween, and he's called many times, Hubie Dubois is called many times to talk about the DJ and like play songs and stuff. So now he's at the radio station for some reason, I forget why, and he goes in because he thinks the radio DJ would have a clue. Now we still hear the woman's voice talking, and then when they show who's in the DJ booth, it's Shaquille O'Neal doing a woman's voice. Now that, I don't know if that was just stupid or funny. It's kind of both, but like I said, by this point, I've lost so many brain cells from this movie that anything is funny at this point. Now the DJ, or Shaquille O'Neal, helps track down, now because the killer supposedly called the police station or somebody to say that he's gonna do something more, or she. So they're able to trace the call. Now the DJ has information because somebody called into the radio station so they can see the caller ID, so he gives them the phone number. It turns out it's a burner phone. Now, finally, Kevin James, the police chief, is talking to Hubie again after they stop trying to blame him for being the kidnapper or the killer. So, at this point, Hubie and stuff think that Violet could be the killer, so they try to catch her in the act. They perform a sting operation. Now, while that's happening, Violet is meeting Hubie in a trench coat. It's very weird. She's talking very weird, unlike a way she's talked in before, almost as if she's guilty of something or hiding something. Now, she reveals that she's not the killer, but she's basically been in love with Hubie forever. So, it's good for Hubie, but you still don't know who the killer is, and it could only be one other person. They talk about how his mother was talking about that you need to be tougher on these bullies and that they shouldn't make fun of you, and mentioning their ancestor who got condemned as a witch. So it's clear now that Hubie's mother is doing this. Now, when he goes home, he sees his mother just sitting in the dark room, and once again, talking very strange, like she's hiding something. Now, I was not expecting these darker moments at the end of Hubie Halloween, which I actually enjoy. Now, the mother reveals in the backyard that all the people who went missing are tied up to trees. She was going to burn them alive, like the witch trials of Salem. Now, the police get there as well, and this is where it gets pretty dark, because she's about to burn everyone alive. It's that kid, it's Tim Meadows and Maya Rudolph, it's Ray Liotta, and she explains how all these people kept making fun of Hubie, and he's a good person, he's helped them, and so as the mother's about to light a match, Hubie actually contemplates whether or not he should stop the mother or not, because he remembers all these people were mean to him. So I thought, oh, is he actually going to let them, like, do it? Are they going to get dark with this movie? But, of course, then he sees an image of Violet, the only person who really cares about him and is nice to him, and he realizes that there's good, and then he stopped the mother from burning them. Oh yeah, another thermos joke. Hubie throws, like, soup out of the thermos to stop the match from lighting that's going to burn all of them on trees. This is a good moral at the end. I would have been interested to see maybe a darker ending, and I'm surprised in general that they went to these thoughts and dark ideas to begin with, so it's very intriguing. Also, throughout the movie, Hubie has a sash that he made himself that says Monitor. Now, at the end of the movie, right after they stop people from being burned alive, all the people apologize to Hubie for being mean to him, and it cuts to 3 years later. Now, Hubie is married to Violet, and he has another sash on, and now he's the mayor. So he's the mayor of Salem, Massachusetts. Now, that's just a little ridiculous, because his character clearly has no idea how to do anything except throw soup at people. So that's really, really unbelievable that he would be mayor, especially because I'm speculating he's kind of mentally challenged. But it ends on a happy note, and the song Monster Mash plays in the background. So Hubie Halloween is a lot to take in. It has classic Adam Sandler comedy cliches, a lot of them bad, unfortunately, including the stupid voice, which is probably the most annoying thing of this movie. Having his friends be in the movie, a lot of fart jokes. But overall, the plot of the movie is not a bad one. It just takes too long to get to the actual plot of the movie, between all of the stupid jokes and forced comedy bits and inaudible Adam Sandler sounds. Now, by the end of this movie, I did not hate it. I honestly Didn't regret watching it. It's not a good movie to say, but it's not a piece of shit. Now, if that's the best compliment I can give an Adam Sandler movie in recent days, I guess that's good. I would give this movie, I'm going to say it 2 out of 5 burgers. Because under everything, the second half of the movie was decent because it tried to get a little scary. Now, this movie's rated PG-13, by the way, so they curse a little bit. They actually try to get dark at the end, but then they negate it with the happy ending. But there was potential in this movie, I think. Now, out of all of the Adam Sandler Netflix movies, this is probably the best one. Because there was The Do-Over, Sandy Wexler, Ridiculous Six, The Week Of, which I've not seen with Chris Rock. But this one actually, I think, tried at points. Now, Steve Buscemi's character as well, he was probably the best actor in the movie, even though he's not in it a lot. He is almost in a different movie because he's reacting to his own psychosis, and he has some generally funny lines. Now, June Squibb was a good choice as the mother. I think that she played it very well at the end. And the cameo from Shaquille O'Neal was actually pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting a lot from this movie at all, and I was somewhat surprised. To be honest, I might recommend this movie, but have very low expectations. Have a drink in your hand, definitely. Alright, I've been Scott Burger, and I'll see you next time with a new Amazon original.